This is my video for Windows File and Folder Permissions. File systems. Before data can be written to a partition or hard drive, it first must be formatted. Operating systems expect data to be written in a certain format, and the operating system must be able to recognize the file system being used. Not all operating systems recognize all file systems. There are three different types of file systems. The first and oldest is FAT, or File Allocation Table. Then you have FAT32. The newest and most commonly used now is NTFS, New Technology File System. FAT was one of the first PC-based file systems. It was introduced around 1980. Then FAT32 came out as an update to the original FAT and was supported in Windows 2000 and newer versions. Using FAT32 allows you to have larger volume sizes with a maximum file size of 4 gigabytes. Many different operating systems can read and write to FAT and FAT32 file system. Some older Windows versions provided limited FAT32 support. NTFS is usually supported by any modern versions of Windows. Windows NT, 2000, XP, Server 2003, 2008, Vista, and 7. And it brought a lot of improvements to the operating system and the way we store files on the hard drive in our computer, such as file compression, encryption, large file support, security, and recoverability. When sharing data across drives or a network, all of the operating systems need to be able to, at a minimum, read the information being shared. Many operating systems can read and sometimes write to multiple file systems, so you can use a mixture of NTFS and FAT32. When using multiple operating systems, check each operating system and see which file system is available, so the correct file system is chosen for all the computers on your network. Directory structures. Using directory structures organizes the files and folders on the drive into directories and subdirectories. It logically lays out information for you, basically like my music, my pictures, so you can organize things into different files to make it easier to find. These directories are called folders in Windows, and files are stored within these folders. Directories can be nested within each other, and some folders on the computer are on the computer automatically, and they're best left alone, such as system folders and application folders. A plus sign next to a folder expands the folder to show any folders or files contained within the original folder. Directory structure syntax. Volumes or drives are designated with the drive letter and colon, such as C, D, H, E. These things may be a hard drive, a CD-DVD drive, flash drive, or a volume that is somewhere else across the network. These letters represent various devices and drives and allow the operating system to access that particular device or drive. Anything that comes after the drive letter and colon is specifying a folder within that particular volume, such as C, Programs, Files, Windows Media Player. Slashes are very important when using folders and files and can be very tricky. Backslashes are used to designate and separate directories. The backslash can be found over the Enter key. Forward slashes are used for everything else. The forward slash can usually be found on the question mark key on the bottom right of the keyboard. Creating folders and files. There are two methods available through Windows to create a folder or file. You can do this through the File Manager or command line options. To do it through the File Manager, you right-click, choose New, and choose Folder. We're going to demonstrate that. To create a folder or file through File Manager, you go to the Start menu, choose Computer. Choose the place where you want to put the file or folder. I'm going to put it on my desktop. Right click, choose New, Folder. You can either do it here, or right click, It didn't do it right. Choose new folder. We're going to name this folder test folder. Open the folder, there's nothing there. You can right click, do it again. You can add different types of files such as a bitmap, a Word document, a journal document, a text document, an Excel worksheet through this menu. You can also create a file or folder through the command prompt. At the command prompt line, we're going to type dir for directory, and it shows us the current directory, what's listed in it. So we're going to go to the desktop, change directory, desktop. Now we're in the desktop directory, do a dir, and see there's the test folder that we just created through computer. Now let's create a different file through the command prompt. You're going to either type mkdir or you can type md test2. Hit enter. Now let's make another dir. There's my test folder and my test2. Let's go back to computer, go to the desktop, and you see no matter where you create the folder through the command prompt or through computer, it's automatically put on the file system and it will show up in either one. File names. When naming a file, there are typically two parts to a file name. File name .extension. An example of this is heather.txt. The file name and extension are separated by a period. File names can be a total of 255 characters. File names can contain letters, numbers, symbols, except for the following symbols: the pipe, back and forward slash, question mark, asterisk, less than or greater than sign, quotation mark, colon, or a plus sign. But different operating systems allow for different characters, and certain characters are reserved for the operating system and cannot be used in a file name. Newer operating systems support longer file names, which can be useful when storing multiple versions of the same type of document, such as testfile1.txt, testfile2.txt. Legacy operating systems use 8.3 file names. This means the file name can be only 8 characters long and the extension can only be 3 characters long, such as filename.txt. All the characters do not have to be used. It can be a name like heather.m or file.ma. The extension after the dot allows applications on the computer to automatically recognize the extension. If you double-click the file name, the program associated with the file will launch automatically. If you give the file name the wrong extension, the wrong application will try to open the file and you will more than likely not be able to open the file. Pay attention to the extensions that you give to the file name and don't change any existing extensions because it can cause problems. And by default, Windows hides extensions. File attributes. Regardless of the permissions the user has, there are certain attributes assigned to the folders and files that are very specific to the file, regardless of who is accessing the file. These attributes include read-only, archive, system, and hidden. NTFS also includes a number of extended file attributes. Read-only. If this attribute is applied to a file or folder, no one, no matter who it is, can overwrite or change the contents of that file. If a file has been modified since the last backup, the archive bit is checked. This is called an archive bit. The system looks for all of the files with the archive bit enabled, allowing you to know whether the file has been archived or not. The system bit is an attribute that designates a file as being specific to the operating system and should never be tampered with. A hidden bit hides files that you don't normally use on a daily basis and don't need to see. File permissions. Folders and files can be given special permissions, preventing unwanted users from seeing specific folders or files. Permissions can be granted to the same computer or across the network. To change a folder or file permissions, you must be logged in as the administrator unless the folder or file is in your specific user account folder. Folders and files can have specific permissions. Let's practice changing some of the attributes and permissions. To change permissions, you right-click on the Start menu, choose Windows Explorer, choose the file you wish to change the properties to. We're going to do it to the test folder, and choose Properties. You right-click the test folder, the folder you choose, and choose Properties. Here's where you see it's only read-only, or you can choose Hidden. To change user permissions, right-click and choose Open Windows Explorer. Choose the file or folder you wish to change the permissions on. We're going to use the test folder that I created a while ago. We're going to right-click on it and choose Properties. And here you see where you can change the read-only and hidden attributes. But right now we're going to change permissions. So we're going to go to Security. Here's where you can see your groups or usernames and the permissions that they have currently. You can change them and see who's got what. We're going to click Edit and go in and add a new user. So click Add. Go to Advanced and click Find Now to find the current users on your computer. See, there's a long list. We're going to choose Guest. Then you want to click Check Names. Okay. Now you have Guest, Winston PC Guest up here. Now we can change the permissions for this guest to allow them full control or allow them a few options without being able to have access to everything. If you change options, you click Apply and then click OK. We're going to click Cancel. Going back to the attributes that you can change, if you go to the Advanced tab, this is where you can do the compressing and the encryption, and this is for archiving up here. So if you go to the Advanced Attributes, this is the additional NTFS attributes that Windows offers. Going back to this Security tab, if you click Advanced on the bottom down here and choose the name of the person you want to edit, this gives you a lot more detail in advanced security settings. And you can change for the options, the folders or files right here, and give a lot more security to your folders. There are also some helpful system utilities Windows provides in their operating systems that provide you very useful, powerful information. These include msconfig, msinfo32, DirectX, and regedit. msconfig gathers information about what happens when your system starts up. It includes things like configuration files, what program files are run when the system starts up, and basically what happens when you turn your computer on. msinfo32 is a utility that provides you with Windows systems information and gives you a very detailed specific about the hardware installation on your computer. So if you have any hardware questions and you need to know how to replace a part, what part you're using, if it's compatible with another part, this is where you can find the information about your hardware. DirectX is a software component added to the operating system that allows programs to take advantage of advanced graphical and audio capabilities, such as the games. This utility is a useful troubleshooting tool if you're having problems in these areas. regedit is a utility This utility gives you access to all the Windows configuration information stored for the operating system, applications, and just about everything that's on the computer. But be very careful when using regedit. Do not delete anything that you don't know what it is, because you will mess up your operating system. Now let's look at using these utilities. In the run bar down here, simply type in msconfig. I have to give administrative privileges because I'm not on as administrator. And here's your system configuration. It tells you what happens on startup. You can pick which startup you would like to select. These are all the programs that run on startup. It also gives you a list of tools that are very useful, that will give you useful information about your computer too. You can scroll through these and look. Things like Task Manager. You can go directly to these tools from this menu right here. You can also choose the Services tab. If you're having problems with a computer, this is a very good troubleshooting tool, because you can go in and enable or disable a device to see if that's what's giving you the problem. Okay, we're going to cancel out of here, go to the Start menu, and we're going to run the next program, the next utility, msinfo32. This gives you information on your Windows system. It answers questions like how much memory is on the computer and how much hard drive space is on the computer. It also answers what type of hardware components are in the case. Here's the plus arrow we talked about that will open up more menus. It's refreshing. And it just gives you information about current hardware installed on your computer. You can look at your sound device, your display. It just gives you detailed specifics about things. Okay, we're going to come out of this one, and now we're going to look at DirectX. To run DirectX, you type DXDIAG. And this is a diagnosis for DirectX. It's a diagnostic tool. If you're having problems when you're trying to play a game with the sound or graphics, this is what you want to come check. And gives you information about what version is configured on your machine. If you need an update, you can look at this and tell which version you're using if you do need to make an update. It gives you information about your display, things like that. Display, your sound, and your input, mouse, keyboard, USB, things like that. And the last utility we're going to look at is regedit, the registry editor. Be very careful about changing anything in the registry editor. Once you've changed something, it takes immediate effect, and you cannot go back and change anything. But you see, when you click on these, there's all kinds of information in there that most people don't know what it is. Okay, and I hope you enjoyed my video on Windows files and permissions, files and folder permissions.